Hello and welcome to today's webinar session on Train the Trainer. Today we will be learning on Hello and welcome to Good Trainer. Today's webinar session on Train the Trainer. Today we will be learning on Hello and welcome to Good Trainer. Today's webinar session, due to some technical issues, we're facing the audio issues. Today we will be learning on. We'll be starting this session formally in few minutes. Hello and welcome to Good Trainer. Today's webinar session, due to some technical issues, we're facing the audio issues. Good evening. My name is Kash. We will be learning on. We'll be starting this session formally in few minutes. More than 10 years of experience in different today's webinar session. I've been technical teacher and a tutor facing the audio issues for last 7 years. Good evening. My name is Kash. We will be learning. I have trained a lot of and I have session formally in few minutes. Today, more than 10 years of experience in different today's webinar session. I know there are a lot of people and tutor facing the audio issues for last 7 years. Good evening. Understand. My name is Kash. We will be learning. I have trained a lot and I have and how they will today. More than 10 years of experience. This is the most today's webinar session, which we will learn. I know there are a lot of people and tutor facing the audio issues for last 7 years. I will start. Good evening. Understand. My name is Kash. We will be learning. I have trained a lot and I have and how they will today. More than 10 years of experience. This is the most today's webinar session, which we will learn. I know there are a lot of people and tutor facing the audio issues for last 7 years. I will start. Good evening. Understand. My name is Kash. We will be learning. I have trained a lot and I have and how they will today. More than 10 years of experience. This is the most today's webinar session, which we will learn. I know there are a lot of and tutor facing the audio issues for last 7 years. I will start. Good evening. Understand. My name is Kash. We will be learning. I have trained a lot and I have and how they will today. More than 10. We apologize for this technical issues because there were some issues with the voice. Let's start with the whole webinar today. As I told you before that we will be learning. We apologize for this technical issues because there were some issues with the voice. Let's start with the whole webinar today. Bear with us As I told you before that we will be learning, we apologize for the whole session again. This technical issues because there were some issues with the voice. Let's start with the whole webinar session. बंदी कर दो ऐसे उस पे बोल दो कि नया सेशन. I believe everyone can hear me now. And let's start with the whole webinar session. In today's session, we will be covering how to become a good trainer, how to train other people from different ages. The most important part is that you get to interact with each and everyone. Because while you are giving training to the people who are of different age groups, they might not interact to you on first basis. They need to learn and they need to first, we have to break the ice from them. And that is the most important part. And today's webinar will be based on how to become a good trainer. Today's agenda for the training session is that we will be starting with that how to break the ice, and then there will be some basic definition will be shared with you guys, that how and why we have to like learn from this training or this webinar. The third part, which is important while presenting in any audience, that is structuring the training session. Then we will move on towards 5 principles of learning. After that, we will learn about adding interest to the training course. And then the most interesting part, which we will learn in today's webinar session, that is how to train difficult people. After that, we will be using or learning from that how we will use the visual image. And at last, we will learn how we have to evaluate the training or how we can evaluate the training. Let's begin with what is the icebreaker session or how we can break the ice. Over here, it's written that they are used to introduce participants to each other and get comfortable with the trainer to facilitate conversation amongst them. I would not say that we just need to make them feel better. I want you to understand that this is the part, this is the time which when the whole webinar starts or when the whole presentation starts, and you need to communicate with each and every participant. It's not with 1, 2, or 3, it's with everyone. A good trainer does not stay speaking while standing in an audience. They have to first interact. And for interacting, you can use different examples. Because you can use an activity also. One of the examples written over here is ask your participants to introduce to themselves. Like if you start communicating with people directly by yourself, they might not interact with you. They might not, if there is a person who is more aged than you, he can maybe, but the people who are younger or who are there to learn and does not know about anything which you are going to train them, first you need to understand that they will introduce each other, not with you. So make them familiar with the whole environment of the training session. And that is the most important part, that they get familiar with the environment They get familiar with the what the whole topic is, because if they are not familiar with the person sitting next to them, they won't be able to get calmed, like their nerves will be like high. So they need to understand and be calm and try to learn. In this example which is written over here, you can make a group, you can make groups, or you can make people to introduce to each other rather than introducing themselves to you. And then you can use an activity which is that they can ask, or they can tell people whom they are explaining themselves or introducing themselves, that there are three things which I'm telling you, one of them is incorrect. And if it's that is incorrect, which you will guess by yourself, they will start learning it. That this is an example, just that they will start having fun with each other. They will start having fun with the whole environment. They will start getting calm. Their nerves will get calm. And that is the most important part to begin a good session, to begin a good training. The next part which we will be learning is, I guess everyone over here knows how or what is training, but we have written that training is a short term, task oriented, and targeted on achieving a change, attitude, skills, and knowledge in a specific area. It is usually job related. This term training does not comprise of the terms written over here only, because we need to understand training can be physical, training can be job related, training can be regarding to your hobbies. You learn a lot while you're having trainings. If you start having an interactive session, if you start focusing on that today we will learn good, this is the part where you boost or you enhance what you are going to learn or what you are. You will become a different person at that time. Second part, which is written over here, is education, which is, I believe, a lifetime investment. It's not related to your studies only. Education is regarding each and everything which you learn and prove to other people. An educated person can also find or found illiterate because of the behavior he will show in the environment or on the job. But on the other hand, a person who is not that much literate can also be an educated person. So I believe learning never stops. So education is a learning part where you start learning good things, learning new things, and this should never stop. To become a good trainer or to train other people, this is the basic need that you by yourself does not stop at any point. You start learning everything or anything every day. This is the basic part. Then it's written development. Development is again something which is related to education. That is a long-term planning, because you need to develop by learning good things from your education and training. If you get educated and you are not trained, you won't be able to develop good skills. If you are educated, trained, both at the same time, and you're not learning good things after that, you will stop developing. Development is a part where you invest the most. And as I would say that today you have invested your time, so you are learning and you're developing your own skills. Now we will move on to that how you have to start or how you have to structure the whole environment. As I told you before, that first part should be in any session or in any training, that should be an ice-breaking session. But how you will structure it, how you will make the whole part or make the whole structure of that presentation or that training session or that webinar. The first thing which you have to do is you have to introduce yourself. And by introducing yourself, you are making each and everyone familiar with yourself. Because this is the time you have to give each and everyone a chance to learn about you. and they need to understand that who is the person standing in front of them. Second thing which we have to do while structuring the whole session is that we have to tell them what are the objectives, what we will learn today, which is the most important part, because you have to be very careful that while having the session started, you need to make each and every person that why they are having this training session. What will they learn and what will they become after this? Then also the important part is that you have to tell them the norms. Because if you don't tell them the norms of the training, it can be a hassle for you also to provide better education, better knowledge to the people who are sitting in front of you. You might be a very literate person, very knowledgeable person, but on the other hand, if you don't manage it properly, or you don't manage the environment of the training session properly, you won't be able to provide everything which you want to provide to the audience. The fourth part, which is you have to tell the people or to make the whole presentation become more familiar to the audience, is tell them the break time, because this is what I think very interesting part or very knowledgeable part to everyone, and from that you can make or crack a joke also, that because everyone in the presentation or training sessions get bored very easily, because they people in the world don't want to listen to people, and even everyone has that kind of ability that they can crack a joke, and in a training session that is also important to tell them that what are the break timings. And the most, or I would say something which is not important, but you have to become making a session interactive. You have to tell them that in any kind of emergency, what are the fire exits, what are the smoking areas, because many people like to smoke in, and you have to give them the break timings also. You have already communicated them, then they should know where they can go and they can relax also. You have to tell them where the fire exits, if in case of any emergency, where they can move quickly and where they can smoke. There are many things which you can tell them in this whole part. After that, the part is tell them the benefits of this workshop or training. As I already told you, that they need to understand why they are having this training session, why they are having that workshop, why you're giving them training on the same topic. They need to understand the benefits of it. After that, the last part is tell them if there is an assessment in the end, and which you will also face at the end of this webinar, which is also important, so that everyone in the audience pay attention to everything which you're gonna speak or you will tell them. Moving forward, we will learn in this slide that what are the 5 principles of learning. First part, which is important for learning, is participation. As I have already told you, that participation of the audience is very important for training. And this is the time where trainers, if trainer is not skillful, he won't be able to involve others. And trainers need to understand that if they are not in making it like everyone involved in the whole session, they won't be getting any responses from them. And if they don't get responses, the people won't learn. The second part is repetition. That is very important. If you just go through the whole video again, whenever you will go through the whole video again, you will understand that why I am repeating everything again and again. My sentences will be the same. Why? Because this is important, that if you won't repeat whatever we listen, we understand that also. And if we just say it one time, which is important, and we won't repeat it, it won't be stay it won't stay in our mind forever. But if you repeat it for more than 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, we can remember, people can understand that and stay on the topic, and they can learn. Even if they have missed the first time, they will learn from the second time. Then the third part is relevance, which is very important. As if I would be training you or giving you sessions on any topic which you are not familiar with, and I don't give you the examples, I don't give you any like material to learn more, you won't be able to understand or learn quickly. Fourth point is transference. Transference is the real world simulations. Most importantly, if I would define transference, transference is, I believe, real life examples to the audience who is sitting in front of you. You should give real life examples to them. But you have to define that in that mode that it will transfer the technical term used to describe transferring experience from your personal life, transferring experiences from giving examples of something which is very known, or giving them simulations. The last part of learning is feedback. In that part, you learn from the training methods, you learn from the audience also, because a trainer is nothing without audience. If something is presented to someone and they are not able to get anything, they will provide feedback of zeros. But this is where a trainer can improve by himself, and you can understand what you have presented, have the audience learned or not. Moving forward, what is adding interest to a training course? If you just read the whole slides, though, then you won't be able to communicate everyone or anything to the people, because they won't be able to learn. If you don't give examples, as I have said already, you won't be able to make them understand what you're explaining, because there may be people who does not know about the topic. But how you can make it, how you can give them this interest? You can make groups, you can make activity sessions, you can give them something which you have already explained, a question they can ask, they can do. That is what makes people understand or interested in your training class, which is very important. Because if they lose the training, the interest, you won't be able to get a good feedback, you won't be able to make them understand what they are learning. As I said at the start, this is the most important or most interesting part of this webinar. While giving trainings to people, to audience of different age groups, to giving the training of different cultures, you come up with this difficult task, that how you will manage people who are of different mindset, people who are of different knowledge, people who are of different age groups. They are the most important, or something which a trainer need to manage first. You need to assume, you need to understand who is the person who will be difficult for you. By giving them a question, you can learn from whatever you have already provided them. Assumptions come to mind in the form of shoulds and shouldn'ts. The most thing which happen in this, when you are giving the presentation, is that people sitting in front of you say that we can we not. Maybe there are difficult people, there may be some people who will always also like give you harsh words in the presentational sessions. But still, what a trainer needs to understand, what a trainer needs to do, there are some tips that how you need to deal with these people. First of them is be calm. That is the most important and significant part of it. If a trainer is not calm, he won't be able to handle those kind of people. Then second one is understand the intentions. This is also similarly important as to be calm, because if you give them the answer, and if you don't give them the answer, and he is already a difficult person to handle, he will make a fuss out of it. He will make this whole training session can go in vain. But you need to understand why he is saying that, what is his perspective about it. A trainer needs to understand psychologically and physically both aspects of the person who is asking in front of you. Third part is let the person know where you are coming from. This is something which you need to understand, that It can be because of the cultures, it can be because of the knowledge, it can be because of the education he has got. You need to understand that where that person is coming from. A trainer, a good trainer, I would say, that needs to understand this. The fourth and the last part, it can be it is not the last part, I would say, but what we have to cover in this webinar, we will cover, is treat the person with respect and highlight his qualities with people. If you do that, if a good trainer does that, what happens? If you start giving the qualities of that person who is difficult for you to handle, or to any trainer, what you have done, you have done something which that person will understand, and he won't be maybe become a difficult person to handle after that, because you have already given him some appreciation, because that's very important. Everyone in this world like appreciation words or appreciative words. So moving forward, which is very important, I would say that visual images. If I would only give you a training or a session or a topic session which is you don't know about it, and I would just write definitions in that presentation, I would not explain you, I would not even represent some visual effects over there, a person might not learn as good as he can with visual images, because that can also make him interested in that presentation skill. If he is learning good, that means he needs to have some visuals in that also. It can be of any type, graphs, it can be of any shape, it can be of any material regarding the topic. But just understand that it's very important to use visual images also, because it's on research based calculation that what we remember is the 10% of what we read. If I would just put everything on the slides, person will remember, audience will remember only 10% of it. But what you hear, you remember 20% of it. And what you see is 30%. But what you hear and see becomes 50%. I won't be saying that you will remember everything which we have just discussed in the whole presentation. But if you hear and see at the both at the same time, people will learn more. People will remember those things, or make them just understand that they will learn like 50%. They will remember 50% of it. The last but not the least is evaluating your training. We have drawn a pyramid over here, which is explaining by its intensity. The most important part which a trainer needs to understand is that he needs to practice his delivery. If he is not practicing by himself, he won't be able to provide each knowledge. Then schedule breaks, because there is a capacity of human mind that he cannot bear more than 40 minutes, and they cannot hear after 40 minutes. They won't they maybe they will hear, they won't be understanding it. After that, you need to understand that it is also important that how you manage questions, because an interactive session is important, as I already told you. But during that interactive session, if you are not able to manage questions, if you're not able to answer them, you won't be able to become a good trainer. They won't be understanding everything because you are not able to answer them. In that part, your knowledge comes first. You need to be very sure, you need to be knowledgeable what you are presenting to the audience. And at last, you need to understand that what are the key points, what you need to highlight in this whole session, what you need to what you need to give them, what you need to provide them with. This is the important part, that you highlight key points. At last, I would conclude the whole training, this webinar sessions. with this word that I believe you have learned, you have understood what we are learning, what we have, why we are having this presentation or webinar, what we have to do while presenting with any audience, what we need to make by for ourselves, what we need to practice by ourselves. That is also important. And what we are presenting, we must have that knowledge. I hope you have a wonderful session. We will be having a questionnaire session after that, and your questions will be answered soon. If you have any query or any question, you can ask on the chat, which is already over there. Okay, there is a question Mr. Atif has asked. He says, please explain again about learning ratio, about hearing, looking. So let me explain you. What we hear and what we see, if we hear and see at the both at the same time, that will enhance or increase our ability to remember that thing. So this is an important aspect. Why? Because visual images create interest, and when you hear them explaining the visual image, it also increases the interest and the remembrance of that presentation or that topic or that knowledge which you are explaining them. We have almost 8 minutes left. You can ask any question if you want to. We will be more than happy to answer you. Okay. Mr. Zan has asked a question about what is ice-breaking session or ice-breaking. Let me explain you once again that what is ice-breaking. Because when you start a presentation, the audience does not know who you are. They won't be familiar with the person sitting next to them. Maybe they know or maybe they not. You don't know about it. So you need to make each and every person familiar with the environment and make them calm and understand that this is an environment where you can speak, you can interact, you can ask. Because if they don't interact, a presenter won't be able to transfer the whole knowledge to them. He won't be able to make it a learning activity. First, what you have to do is make them talk to each other. You can start introducing yourself and make them introduce to you if they are able to. If they are not starting with that they are not introducing themselves to you, you can always start with making them give them their introduction to each other. There is a question from Mr. Atif that what if a presenter does not know the answer asked by the audience in the question, in the whole webinar or training session. A very important part which a presenter needs to understand, that he does not have to give a wrong information to the people. If he does not know anything about it, a good presenter or a good trainer can always tell them that this is something which I don't know exactly, but I believe a good trainer has always the good knowledge. He might not be like that he won't be able to answer him, But on the other hand, if still he does not know about it, a good trainer will never ever give the wrong information or lead a wrong information to the audience. I thank you all for attending this training session, and I formally conclude and end this webinar. Just remember that there will be an assessment after this whole webinar. You will be having a link on the WhatsApp group, which you have joined already. If you will score 100% marks out of that webinar, you will be provided by a certificate for free. But if you don't score, if you does not score, or you score less than 100%, less than 50%, I believe. If you score less than 50%, you will fail. You won't be having that certificate. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. Let me.
Dear participants, we have already shared the link and the WhatsApp group. Please attend the assessment very carefully. You have only 15 minutes to attend the assessment session. Please hurry up and complete the assessment in 15 minutes. We once again thank you for attending today's webinar. Hope you learned a lot. Thank you so much.